Hello and welcome to EducaBase YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the featured news for today, 4th of February 2022. Today's featured news is on a very important topic from economy and governance perspective, paper 3 and paper 2, the divestment policy of the government of India. What has it been till now? What is the meaning of disinvestment? And how the government has planned its disinvestment of strategic or non-strategic sectors. Along with that, what has been its performance, what are the ambitions, how it is going to achieve the same. So a complete report on disinvestment policy of the government of India, right? So to begin with, let me welcome all the participants here. Hi Amlan, hello Kriti, Somik, good evening. Netra, Hima, Anonymous, Ravi, Ashish, Sam, Bhabani, Netra, Vakram, Pooja, good evening to all of you. Welcome back. All right. So Vakram has a question. Disinvestment is a short-term practice. No. This disinvestment has the practice of disinvestment started after the liberalization of economy 1991. Before that, we were a conservative economy. The government tried to ensure that most of the manufacturing would be PSU led, public sector enterprises led. So breads would be manufactured by the government. And then we have these blades that would be manufactured by government, pens would be manufactured, cars, all of them would be manufactured with the aid of government, indirect or direct. And slowly and steadily government realized the same thing that USSR had realized long back and China had realized in 1950s. They started to privatize all the entities, right? Either privatize or disinvest. There is a little of difference between both of them. We will start to cover each of them, all these sub points slowly and steadily. So privatization largely means selling it to a private entity, making it completely privatized. On the other hand, disinvestment means sale of a part of that organization, holding a stake in that organization, certain minimum stake. So 2021 started a new policy of disinvestment, right? Government said that we will divide all the sectors of economy in which the government holds stake in the PSUs, organizations, in two parts, strategic and non-strategic. Strategics were the one which would include sectors like atomic energy, banking, right? And then we would have space sector, defense manufacturing, right? Entities like this. Let me also tell you the other sectors included in this. Some telecommunications, petroleum industry, coal, banking, I mentioned, and insurance. Now, government said that we will maintain a certain minimum strategic hold in them and also privatize them. On the other hand, the non-strategic, we will completely absolve our interest in these, right? So privatization of many of the entities that are a part of the non-strategic sectors. They will also close those PSUs which are not being efficient or not running properly. This has been the divestment policy of 2021. Before that, we started divestment measures since the last 30 years, but it didn't pick up. So firstly, what is the need for disinvestment in India? See, many of you have rightly mentioned the positives of disinvestment, but when it came to answering the reasons for not having disinvested, or what is the reason for the challenges of a disinvestment, then you had longer phrases. I checked each of your answers, 5, 6, 7 words. Some of the points simply mentioning a word pandemic, I understand. All right. So, but answers of the suggestions, what will happen if disinvestment happens? Very good. Technical enterprise would come into place, right? Great managerial skills will come to us. We will have funds from private companies or abroad. Expertise would happen. So all these things are there. There would be more competition. There would be less red tapeism, less bureaucratic hurdles. Look at these. These are the minimum that we can look for when a company gets privatized, right? So these are some advantages of it, and there are some more strategic reasons why disinvestment is necessary for us. See, this becomes the capital gains for the country. We are selling our assets, right? Assets for which our parents or our grandparents paid for, right? So when the government sells these assets, they get capital revenue. So they get 10,000 crore rupees. This is the minimum that I'm speaking of. Government has planned 1.75 lakh crore disinvestment for this year. 1.7 lakh crore. So through selling of its assets. And what it does is that through selling of these assets, there are multi-pronged advantages. One is that there are more efficiency in that particular entity, BPCL, right? Ispat Industries, right? Steel Industries, government, Air India, many of them will start working with more efficiency and performance. On the other hand, the money generated through this can be utilized to fund our capital projects, right? So this is the additional advantages. This is the reason government is looking at aggressively disinvestment of many of its assets, right? Strategic and non-strategic both. See, in the last news only, I showed you that the space sector has seen a reasonable number of startups starting, right? From 10 to 47 startups between last 2 years, right? Why? Space sector has been given privatization and also FDI approval. That is why defense manufacturing in India, if you saw the budget, they have increased the capital outlay to be given to the Indian companies from 60% to 70%. 70% of the capital money that has to be put in defense procurements will be for Indian companies only. You get my point? Hi Pooja, hi Ravi. You get my point? Human resources management is another point. Good, Ravi. You get this point that I'm mentioning. This is the reason that we want to go for disinvestment in our country, gaining some finances for the country, right? So let us understand some aspects of the disinvestment. The featured news very, very beautifully presents the whole of it. So the observation of economic survey, what is disinvestment? This is what we have covered. Objectives of it. What are the goals that we fixed for ourselves? What have we missed? The policy followed in India, the methods of disinvestment in our country, what is the trend of disinvestment and why we have failed here as of now, and what is the way forward. All right, so let's discuss each of them. Now, to start with what we had asked of the country and what we have done. Budget declarations since the year 2012, they said we will disinvest 40,000 crore rupees of India's government's assets, and they could disinvest only 13,000 crores. We are speaking of, remember, we are speaking of the expenses of 40 lakh crore, where we take a loan of 25 lakh crore. Remember, na? Remember? I'm sorry, 15 lakh crore. Loan of 15 lakh crore, revenues of 25 lakh crore. 15 lakh crore of loan for, around approximately for expenses of this much for the coming year. And we want to have a disinvestment. Now, the goal for this year that hasn't been fixed, it has been fixed at around 60,000 crore rupees. Exact figure is, I think, 50,000 crore rupees. Don't have to remember this, but you have to know that out of 15 lakh crore of the debt that we take every year, we are fixing, this year we had fixed 1.7 lakh crores as disinvestment target. And we could hardly achieve 10,000 crores out of 1.7 lakh crore. 10 out of 175, you should see it like this. And for the next year, and this is why the target was revised, the whole year is not complete, March is not complete, the target was revised to around 60,000, 70,000 crore. But we are going to fail miserably. It is only 5 to 7% of disinvestment that we have met in this year till now. The next year targets were, again dropped down to around 60, 70,000 crore rupees. So that means we are not doing well here. If you could see, we have achieved this target hardly in any specific year. So financial year 2018, we achieved this, 19, we achieved this. But look at the targets of 20, 21 and 22. This is the target. We have achieved only 9,000 out of 1.75 lakh crores. So we are falling very, very miserably behind our targets, right? This is the situation of the government. In this light, this becomes very important. Who is handling this? What are the reasons? What is the strategy of disinvestment in the country? What is the objective of it? All right, so let us understand this. Disinvestment is as same as divestment, right? Disinvestment, divestment are same. They're different from privatization. Privatization is complete passing on the ownership, and disinvestment is the one in which we hold certain degree of ownership here. Depends on how much we are owning. 51% is strategically important. 76% is again really critically important, and then also holding 20 to 26% is also important, right? So for critical voting, 76% is required, 51% for having a majority stake in the company, and 26% so that one opponent should not be able to own more than 75%, right? This is why owning this percentage is also important. Either of them is important depending on the kind of sector we are engaged in, right? So this is going to fetch money to the government, right? Disinvestment is also called as partial privatization, right? Liquidating an asset or subsidiary. There are many companies government has planned that it would liquidate in the times to come. As I mentioned, Atomic Power, right now we have NPCIL, National Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, right? Exploration is also done by Rare Earth Mineral Organization. There's an entity, PSU entity. They are not at all competitive in nature. Just because there's only one entity existent in India, there is no competition. If we put in many private organizations and regulate them, just like in space sector, we will have more competition. We will have better products. We will also have amazing revenues for the company, and then we will increase employment. And this is the reason, this is something through which government will increase its taxation base also. Right now, in example of Air India, it suffered a loss of as much as 77,000 crores. If it was a private company, it would not have sustained at all. They would have stopped working, but government still ensured the losses. It did bear the losses burden. It paid 45,000 plus crore of losses by itself, around 15,000 crore by Air India. They paid, and then the asset was transferred to them. So point being that these kind of losses only government is able to bear, private companies would not be able to bear, and therefore either they would shut down or they would improve their performance, right? And this is why we need disinvestment in India. So objective of disinvestment is reducing the financial burden. I told you the budget parameters. Okay, good. Increasing competition in the market discipline, depoliticizing non-essential services. Simple, no. Electricity is a disinvestment or privatization. Why do we need to have electricity rates fixed by the government? Why do we need the government to control the petrol prices? Let people play according to the international and national rates. No. We will depoliticize these issues, right? Improving public finances. How? Through capital revenues, capital gains, and after that investing the capital gains in capital structures. Funding growth. This is what we are planning to do right now at this strategic hour, right? This becomes not only important for this government, but any government at this time. If they have assets, if they invest at this time, the loans will not be high. The borrowings will not be high. The interest that we have to pay in the forthcoming year will not be high. So this is a great strategy, but is it working? We have just seen it is not working, right? So the policy that is followed right now is through DIPAM. This is a secretary IS officer who is handling this, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, right? So only 5% of their targets met, as I had mentioned previously yesterday. If it happened in a private company, the person would be fired from their work, but it is not happening in India. There's a culture in India. For example, if public sector banks are trying to be, privatized or disinvested, people are against it. The employees are against it, right? There are unions which are against it, right? There is a lobby in civil services also. For example, if we want to make the highest positions in the government also competitive, why not introduce it to all the civil servants? It is open only for IS officers. Only for IS officers. One good example of this is that of all these services. For example, simple example is any of the services head, who is the revenue secretary. They are usually an IS officer, not a person from revenue services, right? Who is the secretary in postal services, right? Who is it? It is an IS officer. It is not a senior officer from postal services. So you will see that there is a lobby which works for preservation of the present institution. This is what is happening to public sector banks. This is happening to many other institutions which are on the verge of privatization, because privatization will entail performance. It will entail more accountability. It will entail, you show performance, otherwise look at the exit route. So DIPAM is the organization, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. This is a department in the Ministry of Finance. It had to handle this and not doing that well. The methods of investments are quite a few. One of them is exchange traded funds. You should know what this term is, exchange traded fund. See, what happens is, fund is a place where we keep our money, and then there's a fund manager. They start to invest in that particular entity. So fund will have listed stocks. For example, one is Colgate company, the other one is Tata company, the other one is ITC company. If there are 5 companies and they say that I'll invest your amount in 20% proportion in each of the 5 companies. I have put my money in these funds. This is a stable fund. And then they put 20% amount in each of the companies, and the whole fund will escalate in price or de-escalate depending on the value of all the 5 stocks, right? It will not be dependent on one, but 5 stocks, so becomes more stable and good. Similarly, the government has issued exchange traded funds for all these CPSEs, Central Public Sector Enterprises, and Bharat 22 exchange traded fund. What are this? Don't worry, I will just simplify this for you. In CPSE, all the Central Public Sector Enterprises would be there here. They are listed here, and government has given this to a fund manager. The government has also taken money from the fund manager, and people who are investing in the funds, they are taking one of the units of this fund. No, they are paying for this. So this transaction is between three entities: me as the person investing, the fund manager here, and the government. Government has taken money from the fund manager, and their deal is done already. Government is happy with this. On the other hand, I have paid the fund manager to, for a stock. So I have also become a stakeholder of this particular stock, right? This fund, not the stock, but the fund, exchange traded fund. So government has started two funds like this. One fund is Central Public Sector Enterprises, and the other one is Bharat 22. This is a list of 22 PSUs which the government is going to disinvest in times to come. We know what are these institutions. So that means when they get privatized, there will be more efficiency. If they're listed in the stock market, their prices or the stock prices will shoot up. What are these companies? REC, right? Electricity Corporation, right? Then we have PFC, or Finance Corporation. Not only this, BPCL, NTPC, ONGC, right? Coal India Limited. Many of them, 22 of them. And let me show you the current prices of these stocks so that you are able to understand, right? These funds. So when you look at this is the PSU exchange traded fund. See, I'm not, let's not get into that much of economy, but let me just quickly show you that the prices have actually come back after 2019-20. They have come back from the level of around 15 rupees to 30 rupees. That means there is a possibility that it breaks this barrier and goes above. Right? So this is for the general, central sector enterprises. But when you look at the 22 industries, Bharat 22 exchange traded fund, this has risen the price like anything. See, since 2020, there has been a huge upshoot. That means these 22 sectors are on the verge of the disinvestment. So the prices have gone above at 49 rupees right now. This is what is indicative. Why have I shared the detail of this? Is because this is the most effective policy which has been rewarding in these times for disinvestment. Most effective. The other policies are not working. That is why this much stress on this particular, and this is why the first point was put as exchange traded funds, right? On the other hand, there are other ways: strategic disinvestment, trying our best. Oh, please take it, not taking it. Buybacks, for example, if Government of India, and if I am Tata and Government of India, we are in partnership, Tata will initiate a buyback. We will buy back the shares from the government. This is one. Having an IPO or FPO, initial public offer, or further or follow-on public offer, right? So these are IPOs and FPOs. So IPO is released when the company was completely owned by the government or the private entity, promoters, and later we are releasing these shares of this company in the market. People can own this. This is IPO and follow-on public offer. If there was already a public partnership, but we are further increasing the partnership, this is the follow-on public offer. This was the IPO, the first one, and the second one, and third one, and so on and so forth. What is offer for sale? Offer for sale is, for example, the whole of it is listed. These IPOs and FPOs, they raise money in the market. But FPOs do not raise money. They only exchange the money. I am the owner, somebody else will become the owner. FPOs, offer for sale, is only if we own more than a specific limit of stocks. If I have more than 10% of the stocks in a company, and if this is a company with market capitalization, the top 200 companies, then only they can offer for sale. All right. So these are some ways in which government tries, or any entity tries, to raise money. So does the government. So this time, exchange traded fund for the government, offer for sale, strategic disinvestment, buyback, IPO and FPO, institutional placement program. That means individual cannot purchase this. Only bigger institutions can purchase from one company to the other. So in these institutional offers, one central public sector enterprises might purchase from the other one. Right? There are examples of this. For example, there are organizations when one public sector enterprises has purchased it from the other public sector enterprise. Right? We will see that example in a short while. right? So what has been the trend of disinvestment? Let me look at the question. So which aspect are we looking right now involved when we talk about strategic disinvestment? I'm going to say it's a disinvestment only for strategic sectors or priority sectors also. See, the government actually wants to do away with most of the disinvestment as much as possible, whether it be strategic or non-strategic. When we are looking at non-strategic sector, they want the companies to participate, and take over the whole company. They even want to close down the central public sector enterprises which are not working well. But for strategic sector that I mentioned, they cannot close atomic, they cannot close defense production, they cannot close telecom services. So here they will maintain some autonomy, certain degree of autonomy. Look at the purchasal of stocks or share in Vodafone. Why did government do that? It wanted to maintain its presence somewhere or the other, right? So telecom sector, it maintains somewhere or the other some level of strategic autonomy as well. It must have its say. Atomic sector, defense production, telecom, banking, it will not make it zero. This will not be privatized. But for non-strategic sectors, it might even sell the whole of it, right? So some level of communication, for example, railways, it will own with itself as well. This is the point, right? Makram says, which aspect are we looking involved when we talk about strategic disinvestment? These are the aspects of strategic disinvestment that we are looking at. The more that we are able to disinvest, that is the better. But in strategic disinvestment, we will ensure that we hold that minimum degree of shareholdership, right? For example, 26, 51 or 49. These are important, levels of ownership, right? So when you look at the trends of disinvestment, we have failed to meet the targets. I showed this to you in the last 8 years. Just 2 years we were able to meet the targets, right? And rest of the 8, look at the current example, only 5% of the amount that we targeted was achieved. She spoke, madam spoke in the budget speech, but only 5% of what she spoke came into reality. TPAM secretary should have resigned by now, not did that. So government is not serious on this. If they are still continuing for this year, they might as well not be able to meet these targets also, right? So although the disinvestment targets have been aggressive, but actual receipts have fallen short of the targets. Point being that when we are not able to meet the targets of national infrastructure pipeline or national monetization pipeline, right, where there is a contract, you don't sell it completely, but you return it back. But for the meanwhile, private can generate some revenue and then pass it on a share to the government. When the private is not even doing this, why will they be able, or how will they be able to take the complete share of the industry? So this is a good example. When a smaller thing is not happening, how will a bigger thing purchasal automatically happen? Times of pandemic. Okay. Strategic disinvestment has not involved privatization and has been affected by delays. All right. So this is that I explained right now. Has not involved privatization and has been affected by delays. Exchange traded funds have brought in maximum of the disinvestment receipts for the government. Good analysis here, right? And the last one is public sector policy aims to privatize central PSCs across sectors. See, this is the answer to your question, Vakram and Amlan. So when you ask me, where are we looking at? We are looking at privatization of those non-strategic entities and disinvestment as much as possible in the strategic entities, right? See, so in strategic sectors, the government will maintain a bare minimum presence. What are these sectors? Atomic, space, defense, transport, telecommunication. Example I mentioned, the transport example, you know this. Power, petroleum, coal, other minerals, banking, insurance, financial services. So bare minimum presence. Other sectors, please take it back. CPSEs in non-strategic sector will either be privatized or closed. Look at this. This is 2021 I'm speaking of. Certain sectors such as development, financial institutions, major port trust, CPSEs providing support to vulnerable groups have been kept out of the framework. So if there are some groups, some CPSEs which are providing support to vulnerable sections, they've been kept out of this group altogether. All right. So way forward, now they have said we have reformed in this. We will try to ensure that the targets are not very, very ambitious. So Union Budget has given a target of 65,000 crore for this year and reduced the target of 1.75 lakh crore to 78,000 crores for this year. For this year, reduced the target to 80,000 crore from 1.75 lakh and had the target, modest target of 65,000 for the next year. If we are able to meet this, it is great. It will contribute to our capital income, and then we will be able to spend it back again, right? and then slowly and steadily it'll pick up, right? So this is the plan. Objective of divestment should be to limit the government ownership to strategic sectors only. Ownership is not a substitute for regulation, right? So this is how we are trying to work it out in India. Divesting the right assets at the right time should be understood. If this is not the right time, see, the point is that if we are disinvesting at a time like this, it is possible that the prices that we are able to get for this investment is that is not enough. If we are able to divest at the time when the market is very high, that is the time when it must be done, so that government also gets back very good revenues. So what did we cover today? We covered the aspect of disinvestment of the enterprises of the government. We understood the meaning of disinvestment. We understood the intention behind disinvestment, right? Some of them led by the factors of finances, some of them by technology, or the incoming benefits of privatization and disinvestment. We also understood what are the proportions in which disinvestments happen and what is the significance of each of them. We also understood what are the ways in which the government tries to disinvest. So exchange traded funds, ETF, right? Did you understand this part when I showed you the the graphs? The other one is many other ways. For example, IPOs, FPOs, follow-on public offers. Although keywords, technical words, but important for you, they can ask you this in economy, right? So we won't discuss this all the time. If this is economy right now, 2 months back it was climate change that we were discussing. So depending on, and then there was a time when we were discussing only defense. So it only depends on what is in news. That is what is current affairs about. So various ways in which these investments can happen. This is what we studied. We also studied what is the current performance of the government, right? The last 8-year performance through the graph. We also understood what is the kind of pursual that the government is doing right now. So strategic disinvestment, 2021 disinvestment policy, strategic and non-strategic sectors. This is what government said, and how it is going to achieve or way forward, right? So reduction of targets, looking at the right disinvestment at the right time, opportune time. This is what we looked at, right? These are the summary of what we looked at. And when we ask the question to you, the disinvestment target of government go unmet each year, what can be the steps taken to carry out effective disinvestment? Steps to take these disinvestment in a more effective manner. Would you be able to respond to a question like this? If yes, please start attempting these questions. All right. There are questions. Please post them down. If you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments, and shares. Because these are the questions. What we are discussing is very, very enriched information, right? And if you are able to respect this, then I think that you are at the right place, right? If not, see, already we should understand a fact that the higher we escalate, the fewer the number of competitors. So very simple example that one of my mentors would give to me is, look at the kind of competition that we have for an exam like the examination of Indian democracy, the Parliament of India, the Prime Minister of India. How many competitors? Hardly 2 or 3 of them. Hardly 2 or 3 competitors for the Prime Ministership. But when you look at the competition for lower ends, for the people at members of parliament, right? We will have maybe 10 people or 12 people per constituency for different political parties, right? Member of parliament in Lok Sabha, every constituency, this is the competition. Could be, give and take 4, 5, 10 people. But when you look at the further competition, civil services, this is the next grade of entry. When you look at power and ability to serve people at civil services, you will find that people appearing for civil service main examination or interview examination are hardly 2,500 people for interview examination. But when you look at the prelims exam, there are 5 lakh to 8 lakh people participating in pre-exam, but selections are again few for the main. When you look at SSC examination, oh my god, 25 lakh people appearing. Look at banking exam, look at the clerk level exam. I'm not demotivating or degrading the institution of exams. All I'm saying is that there is a lot of room for perfection. If we have, why can't we have you guys placed as the future competitors for prime ministership? Why not? We should aim high. So the point is, when you aim high, there's always a room for perfection, and there's a lot of scope for improvement there. Only a few of you are able to be a witness to this. So point being, this is a tough exam, and for that we are there with you. anything that you ask for, we are there for you, to help you, to support you. This is a complete live program. You must type down your issues, whatever problems that you face. We will try to cater to them, each of them, raise doubts on all current affairs issues. I'm also throwing light into the other aspects of preparation so that you have some idea about that as well. So be a part of this initiative. I'm sure that there's a lot to gain for each of us here, right? So thank you for participation. Today is Friday. We will meet Monday evening. If you like this initiative, share some love. And more so specifically, this Saturday is the time when you are able to revise, complete your notes. Very, very important week passed by, and it will get covered in the times to come through your notes, through the government programs later on. But this lays the foundation. This weekend lays the foundation for all of it for you, right? So I will see you all again Monday. Anonymous, Bhavani, good night. Thank you. Sam, Ashish, Vakram, Netra, Hima, Kriti, Amlan, Pooja, Anonymous, enjoy. But yes, let's study. Also, sir, your ADIC principle is rich in vitamins. I may not take all of them in my diet, but I do receive it from your Gazette content. Thanks for enriching us. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lost Soul. Thank you, P. And point being that for every article that you are referring to, whether it be current or static, look at these, because this is the one, if you know, every question gets answered. Every question, not only every question, if you have some data and keyword, we don't even know how mind works, how those keywords get attached to another topic at all. If you have 100 keywords with you, the magic will start to work for you immediately. But if we don't know the words, we will be phrasing in 5, 6, 8 words. They will not be eye-catchy. They will not raise that level of impulse in the mind of the examiner that yes, this person knows this, right? So that is the power of keyword and data. That's why I focus on this. And I tell you, I have seen that improvement in each of you. So be a participant here. We will see you. But for that, revise and memorize. All right. Good night. Good night, Pooja. Good night, Netra. Good night, all of you.